Previously on D&D Kinda.
A large dragonborn by the name of Bartholonude is sitting in a dark room in the quiet of the night, rummaging over ancient scrolls. He has been at this for what seems to be hours. He hears a sound that is entirely foreign to him. It is almost a high-pitched singing mixed with a horrific scream, immensely sinister and truly unnerving.
Topher, as a child, your parents gave you to the church. This was many years ago, hundreds of years ago. They entrusted you to a man named Phileas. Phileas was my best friend. Something happened, and Phileas was killed, and that fault was mine. And in order to pay penance for what I had done, I have been watching out for you your entire life.
My son, you're a warlock. The spells that you maintain and the powers that you nurture, they are your own. The power you have just flows through me. I ask, why would the fact that I am the one supplying you with this power be any different than that of Cthulhu or anyone else?
The issue is, I do not know the grounds of which this pact was made.
There was no deal with Cthulhu. The images and things that you saw were of mine. The attacks in Neverwinter. Did you all wonder why those happened? Each of you were visited by some type of evil. The likes of that type of evil can only be found beyond the seals that were formed to stop the ball. Someone, somewhere, released these demons. The words that were uttered that night. The spell was read from an ancient dragonborn text. That is how that evil poured into the world.
I'm beginning to see that my initial and presumably preemptive thoughts of how the scrolls in my abode were related to the events that transpired the night everything began. The night the creature of shade appeared above Neverwinter and swallowed the night. Although the following day, my fleeting aptitude seemed to prohibit convincing my newfound friends of my suspicions. Now, through the evidence propounded by Lokar, it is apparent that these scrolls, and the reading of them, did set in motion some of these events. Palm trees found or not, I believe we must revisit my home and pursue the information found in these scrolls with a stronger resolve to remedy our uncertainty.
So you want to go back to your home to look at these scrolls, Bartholonude?
And I would like Francis to come with us.
Can I come too?
I suppose, against my best wishes.
Sweet. See you there.
But what of Lokar?
Benedict dabs.
We can't just leave him here with Thrak and Scar.
And then Bartholonude looks over to Lokar. You say you want us to let you go. You say you want us to leave you alone so you can try to take away something of benefit from what Hamilton has done to you. But if you are truly on our side, it may be of benefit for us to find out what started all of this.
I can't go with you. I can't go back. If Baal knows I am in the astral plane or in the material plane, I am compromised.
I agree. It would be unwise to bring Lokar with us now that Baal knows where to find him.
It would be unwise to leave him alive.
Bartholonude, at the time of interjecting some of this information, was kind of standing nonchalantly off to the side. He walks over toward Lokar and approaches Lokar and reaches out his hands to shake his hand.
So Bartholonude, Lokar sees your extended hand and stands up. He's reluctant, but extends his hand, not into yours, but kind of out to like a position to where if you were going to be shaking his hand, that you would have to meet him the rest of the way.
And I take another step forward and put my hand into his and grasp his hand firmly and kind of pull him close. And then I kind of say under my breath, I have seen many stories unfold on stage. I have seen people who have acted, who have misled a crowd of people and convinced them all. But they have never dissuaded me. I knew it was a lie, and I knew it was an act. But what you said with conviction, and you said with purpose, and I believe you. I will try to convince the party that, specifically Benedict and Hamilton, that their opinion of you might not have been an accurate one. But I need to know that you can be an ally. How can you help us?
So he doesn't move. I'm imagining you're kind of like leaned over his shoulder, kind of whispering, not whispering, but just speaking into his ear. But he's very still, and you could tell he's processing what you've said. And then you can kind of feel his demeanor change, and he kind of cocks his head sideways. And he says,
The knowledge that I have is all I have to offer. Powerful I have become. But hundreds of years I've been walking this earth with a power that isn't mine. I am not sure of what benefit I can be here. But for everyone's sake, I must remain hidden. The knowledge I have, the power I have, if it can be used here, or somewhere where Baal's eyes cannot see me, then I will gladly acquiesce it to you. That is my promise. But that will not stop me from still attempting to seek the power that I need. I believe that if I can gain enough power, I can dispel Baal's hold over me myself. I will share my intentions with you if the need arises.
So Bartholonude, as he says this, as he says the last word, he kind of pulls away from you and firmly grasps your hand and then lets go.
Then I turn around and kind of walk back to where I was previously positioned, and as I'm slowly moseying back over to that spot, I kind of glance up at Topher and I look over at Hamilton and Benedict. But I don't say anything. I just walk back over to my spot.
Lokar, after that conversation, had turned and started to make his way towards Francis.
So what of Lokar, Bartholonude? Is he staying here or is he coming with us?
I do not believe that is for me to decide.
So Francis acknowledges Lokar walking towards her and kind of looks up at him as he's much taller than her, and he comes near her and he kneels and says,
I have no right to ask you of anything. But if anyone knows this to be true, it is you. I am much more dangerous as an asset of Baal that I am here amongst you, or I can remain hidden in this chamber.
Benedict, Hamilton, it does seem appropriate that if Lokar is an asset to Baal, then we leave Lokar with what we know he is good with. This is the first time you've seen him in your entire life. He's avoided you, effectively. I believe we must hope he can avoid Baal just as effectively as he has avoided you.
I don't say shit.
Hamilton doesn't say anything right away, but he walks over to Lokar.
So, Lokar is still kind of ascertaining a response from Francis. Francis hasn't responded yet, and I'm imagining that's kind of when you walk up, as after Bartholonude said what he had said. So you're kind of walking into the middle of this conversation that's taking place. The kind of vibe that you're picking up here is you didn't hear this conversation, or at least Hamilton didn't hear this conversation, is there's tension, but it's the exact opposite of the tension that you had imagined what that would be between Francis and Lokar. Francis is holding all the power here, and Lokar seems almost not defeated in a physical sense, as he's very much gaining his strength back, as you can tell, just the way he's poising himself. But Francis is almost at a loss for words. She doesn't really know what to do. There's a lot of animosity, but you could tell that she's extremely conflicted. So, and obviously Hamilton wouldn't know this, but you as the players know that Lokar makes a very compelling point as to why it's almost imperative that he stays here. I mean, look what he did to your brother. I mean, not that you can make decisions based off of that because you're not aware of that conversation.
Sure.
But you may have at least an inkling of that because that's what Bartholonude was just talking to you all about. So you approach them. Did you want to say anything, or you just...
No, I'm just waiting for him to know.
And Benedict, you don't say anything either to Bartholonude?
No, I think at this point everybody realizes that I have like a deep hatred for Lokar, regardless of what point he makes, regardless of what he says that he wants. I'm always going to think that he's trying to deceive us, and I'm always going to want him dead. That's just...
No, I really like that too, because, I mean, not to get too meta here, because you have Bartholonude, who just had this conversation with Lokar, and whether or not Lokar is sincere in his words, Bartholonude's take on what had happened is valid, and I can tell you with relative sincerity. I mean, you guys just experienced what he went through. Lokar was no fan of being controlled by Baal, and the story that he said had checked out. So, Topher, I know you are obviously no fan of Lokar by any means, just due to the stories that you'd heard about him, but you had also mentioned that he could be a valuable asset that we don't need to be immediately dispensing of. And to have the other end of the house with Benedict and Hamilton being obviously very adamantly and vehemently just full of hatred towards this character, it creates both like a nice little rift in the party, which is an emotional rift, I would say. I don't think any of you overly hate each other. Maybe still Topher a little bit with Hamilton, or a lot of it. I mean, that was just still an ongoing issue that I think Topher's probably still wrestling with.
So I want to, because everything has been happening so fast, and I just found out that I'm a lot older than what I thought, and what Chris Lix had told me about finding me, like, how he's been looking over me my entire life, but my entire life is something that is beyond what I can really think or imagine, because in my mind, what I can remember, I'm in my 30s. I'm not that old for, a human, but what Chris Lix told me is that I'm a lot older than what I think. And between that and then watching Benedict die and then be brought back, And as a disciple of life, that's still kind of on the inside. It's kind of messing with me, like mentally, and he's kind of worried, or Topher's really worried that with everything that's going on, with all of this information and everything happening so fast, that all of this could possibly distract me from what we are trying to do. Let alone that I want more information about my past, even though that, everybody seems to think that it could be potentially harmful to me. But being a disciple of life, I haven't had the chance to sit down with Benedict yet and see if he's doing okay. We had like a brief little thing, but I want to actually just go sit next to Benedict and just see if he's all right.
All right, you walk over and sit down beside Benedict, and I'm going to switch back to Lokar and Francis. And Francis is just getting frustrated as her emotions switch from being palpably distraught to just almost angry. She kind of looks around, and behind her is the body that was her death was the breaking of a seal.
Mm-hmm. The last blood of the demigod Stellan.
Yep. And Francis turns around, and after listening to Lokar speak, she just goes in a blind rage and just flips the table. And the body of the dwarven woman that was resting on it just topples to the floor and creates like a cloud of smoke and dust as her body lands in the sand. And Francis falls to her knees and then to her hands, and she screams. And Lokar kind of turns away from her and then sees Hamilton just staring pensively at him.
So when Lokar notices Hamilton, I'm guessing there's like still some distance between us.
Yeah. A couple feet.
So Hamilton closes that distance and makes an attempt to kick Lokar in the shin.
It doesn't hurt.
And, sees that it doesn't really seem to bother him all that much. And takes, a few steps back. And then he looks at Francis. And then back to Lokar. There was a time when nothing could have stopped me from trying to kill you right now, right here, where you stand. But I am not the same person that I was then. And I believe that my party wishes to leave you here, Lokar. And I will honor those wishes. But understand that this is not done between us.
So Lokar is just staring at you and just kind of ingesting what you're saying. And he kind of swallows like a lump in his throat and kind of nods and then reaches into his cloak and pulls out the pendant that he was holding that has the moving gears and the lights coming out of it. And it is just completely just broken and fried. And he kind of opens his hand and just kind of drops it onto the floor in front of you, and then he turns and walks away back towards Francis.
So I actually want to chase after him.
Okay.
And grab him by the robes.
Okay, yeah. You run up to him and you grab he has like a long flowing like purple robe on, and you kind of grab the ends of it and pull on it, and he just kind of looks over his shoulder and sees you again.
I don't necessarily believe everything that you've said to us. But if what you've said here is true, then I am truly sorry for what I did. I thought I was making the right choices, and regardless of whether you're lying or not, it's apparent to me that they were not the right choices. But I want you to know one thing. this was because of you. What you did, the way that you treated our mothers, your avoidance of myself and Benedict, your leading me along and granting me power all of my life and feeding this desire of mine to kill you, led me to this place and forced my hand in making that decision. So while you can stand here and try to blame me, know that it is your fault.
So he completely turns around to face you, and then he kind of stoops over to where his like knees are bent, and he's still taller than you, but he's attempting to get as close to you as he can. He's not like trying to whisper in your ear. He's just kind of trying to meet you face to face. And he says,
My son, I know I will never atone for the mistakes that I've made. But the things that I've told you, and your friends, and just to you alone, I meant those words. You are meant for greater things. I can see things that other people can't. It's part of this horrid gift that Ball imparted on me. I know your worth. I know your brother's worth. Your dragon friend and the holy man over there. There's a purpose. Francis did not lie to you. And knowing that, I can never atone for the things that I've done. But that will not stop me from trying. And if I can continue to be stronger, if I can dispel Ball's hold over me, the good that I could do, pick up where I left off. I didn't want this for myself either. I don't want this for you or your brother. I will never ask either of you to call me father or to love me or to trust me. But for the time being, I will ask you to tolerate me. I am sorry you do not have your powers. I should have told you before. But the times that I've kept you safe, the times I've imbued you with energy that you don't even know, I'm sorry. I can't atone. I hope that you know that.
and he gets up and continues walking towards Francis. Francis is now sitting up on her, on the step, and as Lokar approaches her, she looks up and she begins to speak. But before she does, I want to turn back to Benedict and Topher.
So I sit down next to Benedict, and I glance over at him and ask him, Benedict, I know a lot has happened. I know that you have seen things that are beyond my comprehension. And I know what is going through your mind right now, the anger, the hate towards your father. But are you okay with us leaving Lokar here while we finish the task at hand?
I have to be fine. All of you want to keep him here. I'm completely against it. I've made that very clear, but you all are my friends, my companions, my partners, and I trust you. So I have to be okay with it.
Benedict, it's important for you to know. Throughout all of your life, you've been through some
real shit.
some struggles.
Yes.
You are no longer alone.
Benedict, I promise that once we are through with making sure that these seals stay shut, making sure that no more are broken, I will help you take down your father.
As will I.
And whenever I say that, I actually use thaumaturgy to make my eyes kind of flash like white, just to kind of show him that I'm serious.
Okay. I don't say anything, but right now, like, as much hatred as I have for Lokar, and as much as I want him dead, honestly, like, I don't even know what my goals are anymore. Like, because, like, everything he just told us, I'm, like, contemplating, like, do I want to fucking just cut his head off right now? Well, yeah, I kind of want to, but should I? Like, there's a lot of stuff going through my head. And, like, after this is all over, I'm not even sure that I'm going to even want to even see the guy again, let alone, like, want to try to pursue killing him.
Bartholonude has a lot of respect for the two sons of Lokar, knowing what they've been through in their individual lives and hearing the stories of their upbringing and their struggles. And Bartholonude also acknowledges the fact that they're both sacrificing not being able to avenge their father's misdoing throughout their life. And knowing that they're both willing to look at the greater good right now makes him want to return that favor to them.
So I just want to speak up loud enough to where everybody in this room can hear me. Francis, Thrak, Scar, I believe that we are done here. Our time is being wasted sitting here, going over things that we cannot change, feelings that we cannot pursue. We need to get back on track. We need out of here so we can continue to find these seals and make sure that they're not broken. So Francis, Thrax, Scar, let us out of here so we can continue our journey.
Additionally, Francis, I request that you join us. If what Lokar said is true, we will find answers where this all started.
I think Francis should stay here with Lokar. That's just my opinion. All right, that's enough.
Why?
Because she's strong enough to deal with it. Let's be honest, if Ball overtakes him, if he does get in here, there's not going to be anything that's going to keep him from getting out. So there has to be some kind of defense.
And there's nothing stopping Lokar from just leaving as soon as we go.
Lokar.
He looks up at you.
The subterfuge that you experienced around Velka Nuru, posing as a person rather than Ball. Do you think some trickery Ball could have put you and created you to make you a seal?
So Lokar kind of thinks for a second and says,
I would not put it beyond the realm of possibilities. However, you must consider the first seals, and the seals were formed after my birth. I predate these seals in their entirety.
I do not want to make you think that I believe that you are one. I've only seen evidence that seals can change. For example, one of the seals was of the last blood of the demigoddess Selen. That is not a static thing. That thing will dynamically change when someone has offspring. Seals can change. And if he could interject magic upon you that would make your lifeblood one of the seals, then the foundation of the desire of Benedict and Hamilton to want to kill you would serve his best interests.
Bartholonude, if what you're saying is true, then that would mean that Benedict and myself could also be pivotal to the seals.
Frances speaks up at this point when you say this, and she says,
"Bound in blood."
Topher, when you were perusing these tables earlier, did you see anything about family?
I don't answer him because at this point, what's going through my mind has me distracted from this conversation because Topher's over us tiptoeing around things. And yes, Lokar, could possibly not be trusted, but in Topher's mind, who's more of a danger to us and who's more of a threat to Faerun? Is it Lokar or is it Ball? So in Topher's mind, getting out of here and trying to figure out how to take down Ball is more important than this conversation right now.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to get out of here so we can do that. And that's taking precedence in my mind, so I don't even really hear what Bartholonude has to say.
Man, I feel like I was ignored, and I kind of noticed that, his disposition tells me that he's not focused on what's happening around him. So I kind of walk up to him and I say, Topher, what's wrong?
So you walk up to him and say that, but as you're walking over to him and those words are spoken, Frances answers your question for you. And she says,
"We know nothing else. The extent of the research that we've done has only lent way to the information we all already know. We know not of any of their seals. We don't know what the next step is. If you have information, you think you have something that might help us, Bartholonude, please, by all means, we must go. However, I cannot go with you. I cannot leave the information we have here and Lokar by himself until I feel he can be trusted. I want nothing more than to assist you all. But until then, I cannot go. Until I feel completely confident Lokar will not betray us."
Benedict, Hamilton, Bartholonude, what is more important to you all? Because from where I'm standing, for you, Hamilton, and Benedict, it's killing your father, and I understand that. But who's more of a threat? Your father or Ball? Who could have more of a negative impact on Faerun? Now, I don't necessarily trust Lokar, but I don't think right now is the time to... I don't think it's smart for us to waste our time here with him. If Frances can watch him and keep him from doing anything bad, our time would be better spent on other things.
I agree.
Then we should go.
100%. Yeah, let's get out of here.
Hamilton picks up the doodad that Lokar had dropped before and puts it into his pack and turns and starts to walk towards the group. Topher, at one point, you would have been right. That what mattered most to me, at least, would be killing Lokar. But right now, I'm more worried about what is important to all of us.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way now, because I did not know how you all felt, but I know that there are more important things for us to handle right now.
Benedict is scooting, getting on out of here.
all right, so you guys all just kind of
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to head to the door.
As Bartholonude kind of heads toward the door, he looks over at Francis and gives a nod.
Hamilton looks at Topher's backpack as Topher's walking away, and then looks down at his legs, wipes away one single tear, and walks to catch up with the group.
So as you guys are walking out of the room, you guys step through the sand and up the sandstone stairs, and then across the small plateau and into the hallway, and you hear Lokar speak up from the other end of the room, and he says,
"The Ice Rim Mountains."
I'm gonna kind of get it. And he stands up and walks towards you all and says,
The last known
location
of the physical seal that was formed 400 years ago. The dwarves of Ice Rim Mountain have it. Safe as it may be, I would feel more comfortable if it were here with us.
And then he turns and walks as you guys continue out.
I shoot him like a suspicious type of glance because he just assumed that he was a part of us.
Well, I think he meant when by here was Ball doesn't know that he's there.
No,
so,
I know. But in my mind, I don't trust him, but I don't distrust him. But just how he said it was more of a kind of an assumption thing that we're going to be okay with him from here on out.
Right. I do want to say this, though, in relation to Lokar. At this moment, I think that you guys could all probably pick up the vibe that he's terrified. I mean...
Yeah, I'm definitely picking it up.
Like, the fact that, it's been what? He's been in charge of him. He knows his powers aren't his own, but at the same time, he's been able to control them for, it's been 400 years since he got them.
Yeah.
And the fact that in a moment's notice, he was just completely indisposed and someone else was in control.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't okay with that. So he's terrified, and if he's going to do whatever he can to stay out of the reaches of Ball.
And I get that. I just think as any of us should feel, just a little skeptical of everything. Just because, just as a human being for me, for Topher, it's like you can't trust everything somebody says. And, it's not that I distrust him, like I said before. It's just, he could be putting on an act.
Right.
So I'm going to stay kind of cautious to it. I don't want to let my guard down with him. That's kind of why I shot him that look. It's like, are you for real or not?
Yeah, and I do want to comment on, as you guys are on your way out. So Chrysalix is obviously still in the room, and he was actually following you all out of the room with you. And Thrak and Scar, they're uncomfortable with... They just kind of seem off-put. They haven't really said anything. But you can also tell that Francis relies on them for support as far as like from a physical aspect. Obviously, Francis is way more powerful than they are, but from a magical standpoint. So,
both
Thrak and Scar rival Bartholonude in strength. They're huge half orcs.
Yeah.
So I think that
Bring it on.
Yeah, so you guys walk out. Chrysalix walks out with you guys. So you guys head down the hallway, and at the top of the hallway, there are the spiraling lights that were there. Magical lights that are lighting the hall, and then at the end of it, there is the staircase. And as the staircase kind of ascends, it doesn't appear to go anywhere. The stairs kind of disappear, and as you guys get to the top, there is a blinding light, and it splits open, and you guys are now, all 5 of you, standing in the bedroom of Francis's home. Chrysalix is behind you all, and he kind of just starts to walk out of the door and starts to walk out of the hallway.
Before we go, everyone, while it's just us, And I want to make it a point that Hamilton is purposely avoiding looking anyone in the eyes. I know that nothing that I can say will change what happened, but I want to make it clear to all of you right now that I did what I did because I thought it was the only thing that there was to do. And I truly thought that it was what was best for us at that time. And I am sorry. And then Hamilton walks out.
Hamilton, before you go, come back here real quick.
Let me give you a kiss.
Scurry those little legs back here.
Hamilton comes back here real quick.
Based on what Francis said about knowledge, about our situation with Ball, with the seals, and with defending this world against evil, I believe that the torch has been passed. We are now the leaders of this crusade. The crusade against the powers of evil that shake the foundation of this world. And if we are going to choose solving the insatiable drive for vengeance, and I motion my hand toward Benedict and Hamilton, investigating the mysteries of our past, or the lack of a past, and I looked at Topher. Will we choose these individual pursuits? Or will we unite to prioritize Faerun, to prioritize this world, and work together and give every last part of ourselves to assure the continuity of peace?
Bartholonude, I agree with you. I think this is bigger than any of our individual pursuits. Not that we need to ignore it. I think there's a lot that we can still learn about ourselves and each other. But I'm not sure how much help I will be from here on out.
You need to learn that your power just wasn't with your magic.
I will try.
And then I walk out down the hallway and through the kitchen and out the front door.
Yeah, I also walk out of the house.
So you all start walking down the hallway, and from the hallway into the kitchen, the front door is standing open, and it's midday, and you look out, and in the grass in front of Francis's house, Chrysalix is sitting, and he's kind of looking over the city because the house is in the northeastern edge of the city, and it's kind of looking out over the markets and the towns and as the sun is slowly falling in the sky. And he's kind of sitting there fidgeting with something in his hand, and as you guys get closer, you realize that he's kind of spinning this crystal that's been drained of the color. And he doesn't look okay. He looks pretty distraught. He stands up and he turns and he walks to you, Topher, and he kind of pulls you aside and says, Topher, Lokar has told us that we might need to go to the Ice Rim Mountains, and the dwarves there have long been concealed. It's been ages since we've seen any of them. I must go scout ahead for your sake. I know the four of you can handle yourselves. I'm not so much concerned with all of your safety as I am with yours. The closer we get to the north, the closer we are to the areas in which I failed Phileas. And I failed Faerun. And he kind of tears up and puts his hand on your shoulder and he says,
Good luck, Topher.
I pull his hand off my shoulder and put my hand in his hand. And I say, be safe, Chrysalix. You do not need to worry about me. For I have these three to watch over me.
So Chrysalix has turned away without speaking any further words to you, Topher, and before you walked away, Bartholonude, you realized that Chrysalix had just started to turn and walk away, and you guys are all kind of gearing up to make your exit from this area. And then as you guys are walking, Hamilton, you can't see anything. Immediately surrounding you, it is complete darkness. There's nobody. The house is gone. The sun is gone. You are standing in a complete and total abyss. You hear thunder, rumbling. And as you turn, desperately searching for any sign of anything to clasp onto, anyone to reach, anyone to talk to, the only thing that you see slowly coming into vision are clouds that roll in, and from behind them, two impossibly huge, glowing green eyes. And then you snap out of it, and you're standing back in the field in front of Francis's house.